Hello, everyone. Welcome to SolasOS. Over time at Solas, we're going to be talking to lots of customers and lots of very insightful people in the area of talent management, talent growth, talent mapping. We want to share these insights as part of this Solas Insights series. Over time, we're going to talk about the Solas OS product, what we're learning from customers, insight into our data, eventually benchmarks that our data is creating to help inform the industry. We will even be joined by members of our advisory board that will be announced in the near future. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been meeting with HR leaders across the UK and US, different industries, different sizes of businesses, but we're hearing some of the same challenges from these companies that as we go. This is what we want to focus this episode around. Without sharing the exact people, we plan to share the learnings as we go and how this feedback from customers is driving our roadmap and even driving the core strategy so that we are developing products that are highly valuable for the customers that we're serving. My name's Ian Hamilton. I'm one of the co-founders of SolasOS, and today I'm joined by Iain Gourley, my co-founder of SolasOS. And I would like to hand it over to Iain now just to get an idea of, Iain, what have you actually been hearing from people that we've been engaging with over the last couple of weeks? What are the key trends that people are talking about?
Well, thank you, Ian, and good to get an opportunity to share some insights because it's when you talk with customers that you really learn what the real issues are. And of course, some themes come out of that. And I think three themes are coming out of conversations over the last few weeks. And the word measurement is at the heart of all of them, but they are in different real life scenarios. So one customer we're speaking with at the moment is partway through post merger and acquisition integration of two businesses. And they're looking to understand from a cultural and team effectiveness level where they are situated and how well they're situated to blend their situation, their business, with the other business that they're coming together with. And so being able to measure cultural fit and team effectiveness in that context where you're coming together with another business is something that we can get involved in with our technology and they need help with. A second area, I think, is around, again, with measurement, is around measuring performance. And measuring performance is a very emotive topic, of course, when it comes to individual people as well as teams. And it's such a subjective thing. We're hearing that with many people that we speak with. And in a risk-related business that we're speaking with, they're especially keen to move into a better way of understanding how to measure human performance in a more objective way, not to bin their existing approaches, but to add to them and make them stronger with real life, a real time insight. And again, that's an area that SolasOS can help them with, where it's quite exciting because it really is relevant to managing performance in a current way, as opposed to a backward looking way, which is what is often the case with the way performance is managed. And thirdly, a theme that's coming out from many conversations is this 9-box talent mapping exercise that so many human resources people are so familiar with, and yet serially pretty disappointed with. The 9-box approach is kind of okay, is what we're hearing, but needs to be better. And, again, it's around measurement and often very subjective. And we're looking to help bring some objectivity to that theme where we can make, if you like, a rather tired and perhaps underperforming model work better.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And some of the conversations we've had around that 9-box exercise, the visceral reaction on somebody's face whenever you even mention it is one of, just frustration, I think. It really is frustration that we've seen. And the interesting part of that is that every person knows it well, and every person that we've spoken to, I believe, has used it recently enough. And so the question that I ask is, well, what has gone so wrong with this 9-box exercise, and why is it still being used? And I don't know, maybe you have some insights around that. I've got a few opinions myself.
Well, without delving into the problems of why people might be finding it troublesome, I think the enhancement that can be made to it is more around context.
Mm.
It strikes me that it's a bit of a broad brush model that maybe isn't tailored as well as it could be to the context that an organization finds itself in. So, for example, if you're a business that's always looking to acquire other businesses, that's a very change rich environment where people are going to be up and down in their emotions quite a lot. And there are peaks and troughs of excitement when yet another acquisition is undertaken. That's very different from a steady state business that, perhaps has been doing the same thing pretty well for a long, long time and doesn't make much change, but does a fine job. Applying the same model in such different circumstances is a little bit too crude. So there's a yearning, it would seem to me, to get the context of using a model like that or other assessment models more specific and more realistic, therefore. And the point is really that I think you can set your people up for frustration and disappointment if you assess them in a manner that is full of holes and open to challenge as perhaps just not being that fair or that accurate or that well informed. And so I'm learning from this that what we need to do with the work we're developing with our customers is really understand their context. And I'll give you another example related to this. Values. Forget 9 boxes for a minute. Company values, core beliefs. Just as common, if not more so, than 9 boxes. And yet, of course, every company that has its own values has nuances and variations from another company that might have similar values. So they want us to be able to tailor our analysis around their values, not generic values. And the thing that excites me with all of this is that's exactly what we can do.
Yeah.
We're not looking to just use a broad brush approach, whether it's core value related, 9 box related. We're looking to understand the context. And I think that's the key word in all of this. The learning I would take away from it is understand the client's context, which is exactly what we're trying to do as we bring our new technology to market.
Yeah, if I think back briefly into my experience of talent mapping exercises, 9 box exercises, identifying top talent exercises, any one of those things. The process typically went that a bunch of leaders are gathered together onto a video call or into a room. They're briefed by HR in the process. There's a quite a, kind of a full-on introduction into avoiding personal biases. And then the the process goes very quickly into a spreadsheet and marking scores and doing that sort of stuff. My reflection, and this is a reflection on my own ability to take part in these exercises and a reflection on the overall exercise, is that you really are thinking about somebody in the current context of how you've experienced them very recently. And it's very hard to significantly extend your thinking beyond the last month, the last few weeks, whatever it might be. And it's hard to, kind of really think about, well, what's the last year or the last 6 months without just going back to their kind of performance score evaluation or whatever. And then the next thing is, whilst we try to extend our thinking beyond those barriers to include the full level of experience, we also recognize that like each and every single leader in that room is a very different individual and person. And like we want to encourage
Yeah,
that to be
that's
so
right.
in business in order to encourage diversity. But at the same time, you have very different thinking individuals around the room, all trying to apply assessments on people in the business. And that is naturally going to cause an awful lot of inconsistency. Some personal biases are going to slip in there, some differences of opinion are going to slip in there. And it really brings, and I think this is what I think this is what HR professionals feel. They feel a level of inconsistency in a process. And processes are not really meant to allow inconsistency into them. And this is where the conflict of the HR approach of, wanting standards and processes and consistency, this is where it becomes very difficult with all of these exercises. And this is I think you've already pointed it out, Ian, but this is where we're trying to get after solving some of these challenges by using the data that exists in your business today and harnessing that in order to deeply and consistently understand people's behaviors, emotions, their collaboration as they're getting after their everyday work. So I think that's how I would tie all of that together, trying to make sure that we're moving from this world of inconsistency and fraught feelings around the tools and processes we're using to a place where we're still valuing our leaders' opinions in the process, but we have data to back up and ensure that we're doing it the right way across the whole business, whether it's across regions, functions, whatever it might be.
Well, that's right. You want it to have an effect on the individual where they have at their core a sense that they're being treated equitably. There's a consistency and fairness of approach being applied here, as opposed to, for example, if you're in the sales force, only being assessed by your last 2 months' performance, or if you're a project manager who delivers loads of projects over the course of a year's period, that you're assessed in the course of the whole year's projects, not just the last one, whether it was good or bad. Something more objective and consistent. And if you think about it in terms of an analogy, think of steel reinforced concrete. We're perhaps looking to bring the steel rods into the concrete to give it that structure, that rigor, that consistency that will enable it to be well formed and last the test of turbulence. Take away the steel, you've got crumbling concrete. So an element of rigor, that's what we're looking to bring about here.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well put in. Okay, so I think that has been a nice insight into some of the early thinking and how we're evolving quickly with the feedback that we're getting from the businesses that we are meeting. I hope you'll join us in a future episode. We're going to talk more about SolasOS, more about those talent mapping and talent management exercises. We'll be joined by some of our board advisors along the way as well. So excited to get after this journey with you, Iain, and with everybody that joins us in these videos along the way.
Very much. I completely echo that. And thank you, anyone, for listening. It's good that you're taking the time to do so. And we'll see you again sometime soon. Thanks.